اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه، باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمن، به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر
testing mic test.
تأتيك المواهب، واطلب من الله ما تحتاج أجمعه، فالخير يا ذا لديه والمطالب. لا تسأل الله كريم الوجه خالقنا، فعنده الفضل والإحسان مسكوب. واعكف على بابه في كل ما نفس، فإن نسيانه يا صاحبي حوب. وكن أخي بحبل الله معتصما، فكل حبل سواه فهو مقطوب. واسلك على سنة الهادي تفوز، وفي أولاك ترضى وفي أخراك محبوب. ففي اتباع النبي الخير أجمعه، عليه منا صلاة ربي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah. For my dear respected viewers, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the continuation of the Sullam Munawraq of Al-Imam Al-Akhdari in the knowledge journey of Mantiq. And may Allah bless any this session, make it a reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered, inshallah, and open for us doors of understanding. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen. So, inshallah, today we will continue from where we stop. So, we are in the chapter of Lawahiq al-Qiyas. Lawahiq al-Qiyas is basically the abridgement of the chapter of Qiyas, that is syllogism. I will just make it bigger. Okay. So the author mentioned ومنه ما يدعونه مركبا لكونه من حجج قد ركبا فركبنه إن تريد أن تعلمه واقلب نتيجة به مقدمة ويلزم من تركيبها بأخرى نتيجة إلى هلم جرا متصل النتائج الذي حوى يكون أو مفصولها كل سوا. So here he's speaking about the types of syllogism with regards to the conclusion. So one is called muttasil, the other one is called munfasil. So this is the first thing that inshallah we will speak about. So I will show you the slide for this, so that it becomes easier for those who are following to understand what the author is saying. Okay, so we will look at this. So the author basically mentioned that the Qiyas is divided into two parts with regards to the Natiija. With regards to the Natiija. So here you see Aqsamu Qiyas al-Basit. Qiyas al-Basit is the normal syllogism that we have been discussing all this while, and it's called Qiyas al-Basit, simple syllogism. It is divided into two parts with regards to the Natiija. So number one, it is muttasilun nata'ij. Number one is muttasilun nata'ij, the conclusion is seen in the argument. The conclusion is seen in the argument, and then we use the same conclusion to build another argument. Later on we will look at the example below. So this is muttasilun nata'ij, because you are using the Natiija as the first premise of the next argument. So this is the meaning of ittisal, and there is a connection between the first conclusion and the second conclusion. So there are two syllogisms, but it is linked from one to the other. So this is called muttasilun nata'ij. Whereas munfasilun nata'ij is the opposite, and you do not see the Natiija, but it is assumed. It is assumed that the Natiija is there, but the end result will be the same. The end result will be the same, but it is considered to be one argument. So the conclusion is hidden in it. So we call it munfasilun nata'ij. The conclusion is not attached to the argument. Okay, so now we will look at the example, but before that let us look at the matan again. This is where the author he mentioned ومنه ما يدعونه مركبا. So now he is going to speak about murakkab, meaning arguments that are linked from of one another. So this is not only one syllogism, but this is more than one syllogism, and they are interlinked. لكونه من حجج قد ركبا. And these are the arguments that are built upon. Hujaj قد ركبا, arguments that are built upon. فركبنه إن تريد أن تعلمه. And then he mentioned place those arguments, what you call it, with the right way of building them in turid an ta'lama, if you want to get the proper conclusion of all these syllogisms that are built upon واقلب نتيجة من به مقدمة, by making the نتيجة of an argument as the premise of the next argument. So now we will explain this. So again, let us look at this example. So here is muttasilun nataij, and that's what we mentioned, that the conclusion is attached, that you can see the conclusion, and the conclusion is used for the upcoming argument. So the example is this: An-nabash akhdhun lil mali khufyatan. This is the first premise. This is the first premise. So this is qiyas al-iqtirani, the deductive logic. An-nabash akhdhun lil mali khufyatan. An-nabash is a person who dig the graves to take the kafan, the cloth of the deceased. So this is called an-nabash, the people in English we call it the grave robbers, the grave robbers. An-nabash akhdhun lil mali khufyatan. So a grave robber is a person who steals who takes the wealth of others khufyatan, secretly. Wa kullu akhdhin lil mali khufyatan sariqun. And everyone who takes other people's property secretly is a thief, sariqun. Then what is the natija? Yuntiju an-nabashu sariqun. An-nabash sariq. This is the conclusion. So if you say that the grave robber is a person who takes the property of others secretly, and everyone who takes the property of others secretly is a thief, then the grave robber is a thief. An-nabashu sariqun. So now you have the natija. What is the natija? This is one the one that we see, the underlined one. An-nabash sariqun. So this is natija. So now we take the natija and we form another argument. We form another argument by making this natija as the first premise of the next argument. So this is what is mentioned in Arabic here, natija muqaddimatun surah, the first premise of the second argument. So now we take an-nabash sariq, which is the conclusion. Now we form another argument. That's what you see below. So we say an-nabashu sariqun, a grave robber is a thief. Wa kullu sariqin tuqta'u yaduhu. And every thief, the punishment is that the hand is cut. So what is the natija? An-nabashu tuqta'u yaduhu. The conclusion is that the grave robber, the hand will be cut. Because why? Kullu sariqin tuqta'u yaduhu. The punishment for the thief is that the hand is cut. So if nabash is considered to be a thief, then the hand of the nabash is cut as a form of punishment. And this is the natija. So this is an example of muttasilun nataij. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. When you say muttasilun nataij, we are using the natija of the first premise to form up the second premise, and it is not constricted to two kind of syllogism or two kinds of argument. This can go on. You can use for example the what you call it, the conclusion of the second argument, an-nabashu tuqta'u yaduhu, to form the third argument, and this becomes the first premise and so on and so forth. So this is the meaning of tarkib. This is the meaning of tarkib. We build argument upon argument. This is what Al-Imam Al-Akhdari mentioned in the matan. So now let us look at munfasilun nataij. So earlier we mentioned munfasilun nataij is what is mentioned here. Ma lam tuzkaru fihi natija. You do not see the natija. You do not see the natija like what you see in muttasilun nataij. Here you see the natija. That's what we mentioned in the one in underline. But now we look at this example, and it says an-nabash akhdhun lil mali khufyatan. So now the first premise is the same. An-nabash akhdhun lil mali khufyatan. The grave robber is a person who takes property of others secretly. Wa kullu akhidhin lil mali khufyatan sariqun. and all who takes the wealth of others secretly is a thief. So look, both of these premises are the same. Muttasilun nataij and munfasilun nataij. We can have the first premise, second premise, and they are the same. But what is the difference? Munfasilun nataij, and you do not see the natija, whereas muttasilun nataij, and you see the natija. As what we mentioned earlier, what is the natija? Natija is an-nabashu sariqun, but here you do not see an-nabash and sariqun. So I hide the natija, and I assume that the natija is there. I assume, but I did not show it. But then I straight away enter into the next part. I say wa kullu sariqin tuqta'u yaduhu. So I do not mention the natija, but the natija is known. That if everyone who takes the property of others secretly is a thief, then the nabash is a thief, but I do not mention it. But instead I say wa kullu sariqin, all thief, the hands will be, if a person is a thief, the punishment in the hands will be cut. And then only comes the natija, an-nabash tuqta'u yaduhu, and the natija is the same. Can you see? The natija for the muttasilun nataij at the end is an-nabash tuqta'u yaduhu, and it is the same for munfasilun nataij. So basically they can have the same conclusion, but the difference is that the natija is not mentioned in munfasilun nataij. So it is assumed that the natija is known, and we go on to form up the argument, and we will come up with the same conclusion as the muttasilun nataij. So this is basically what the author mentioned. So he said ومنه ما يدعونه مركبا لكونه من حجج قد ركبا. So here the first thing he mentioned is about tarkibul hujaj. In terms of arguments, we build upon one argument with another argument. فركبنه إن تريد أن تعلمه واقلب نتيجة منه مقدمة. So he said you form up the argument, and the first type is muttasilun nataij, where you make the natija as the muqaddimah. Waqlib natijatan bihi muqaddimah. You make the natija of the first argument, as what we mentioned just now, an-nabash sariq, we make it into the muqaddimah, the first premise of the second argument. Yalzamu min tarkibiha ba'khra natijatun ila hلم جرا. This is what we mentioned, once we get the natija, then we form up the second argument with the natija, and then we can build up our arguments. The second argument can be used for the third argument can be used for the fourth argument. This is the meaning of hلم جرا. It is connected to one another. متصل النتائج الذي حوى يكون أو مفصولها كل سواء. So he mentioned the nataij, or the conclusion of muttasilun nataij and munfasilun nataij, kullun sawa, they are the same, they can come to the same conclusion, but the difference is in the tarkib, how you form up one argument to another argument, whether you want to mention the conclusion or you do not mention the conclusion, but you will get to the same conclusion at the end. So this is the first part of this lesson, that we speak about the types of syllogism with regards to the conclusion. So now we will move on to the next part. The next part is the types of syllogism in terms of its argument. So again I will show the diagram for this, inshallah. So now we take a look at this. So these are the three types of syllogism, the three types of an argument. As you can see, there are three types. How do we get three types? This is from the matan. This is from the matan of Sullam. So maybe we go back to Sullam first. He mentioned wa in bijuz'iin ala kulliyin ustudil fadhaka bil istiqra'i indahum uqil. So here the author speaks about the types of syllogism in terms of the content of the argument, that if it is what you call it, if it is juz'iyun ala kulli, yani juz'i ala kulli, it is called istiqra. It is called al-istiqra. So here we have the term number one, we have the term al-istiqra. Number two, and so al-istiqra is a connection between juz'i and kulli. So we derive from the members or from the particulars, we derive a universal principle. We derive a universal principle and based on our observation on the members or on the particulars. This is called al-istiqra, and in English we call it the survey. We call it in the survey. So what do you do in the survey? You take for example opinion of the members of the people who you are interviewing, and then after that you form up the a principle based on your observation. So you get this universal principle based on the observation of observing the particulars that is the members of whom you are interviewing. So this is called al-istiqra. So this is the first type. Wa aksuhu yud'a al-qiyas al-mantiqi. The opposite of al-istiqra is qiyas al-mantiqi, يعني وهو الذي قدمته فحققي وحيث جزئي على جزئي حمل لجامع فذاك تمثيل جعل. So we have qiyas al-mantiqi. This is what we study in usul al-fiqh. Qiyas al-mantiqi, we what you call it in what you call it in mantiq, we call it tamthil. We call it tamthil. And the other one is qiyas qiyas al-usuli. Qiyas al-usuli we call it tamthil. Qiyas al-mantiqi is what we study in the chapter of qiyas, that is the syllogism. So there are three types, and basically the author mentioned these are what you call it. Number one is istiqra. So istiqra has a relation with juz'i and kulli, is what we mentioned. And then we have qiyas mantiqi. Qiyas mantiqi is the qiyas that we study in mantiq, that we use al-juz'i with kulli, and then we have tamthil, that we use juz'i for juz'i. This is qiyas al-usuli. So these are the three things that we will discuss. So number one, we have al-istiqra here. So it mentioned here وَهُوَ الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ عَلَى الْكُلِّ بِالْجُزْءِ. As what we mentioned al-istiqra in the survey, we go back to the particulars. So for example, we say كُلُّ حَيَوَانْ يُحَرِّكُ فَكَّهُ الْأَسْفَلِ. So this is a principle which is universal. How do we get this principle? By the observation of the particulars. Imagine a person study about animals, and he found out that all animals when they eat, they will move the jaw that is below. The jaw that is below. And when you look at cats, when you look at dogs, when you look at tigers, when you look at lions, when they eat, it is the lower jaw the lower jaw that moves. So this is based on al-istiqra, based on observation a few types of animals, we came out with a universal conclusion or universal principle. This is the meaning of al-istidlal ala al-kulli bil juz'i. We come out with a universal principle, but this is based on observations of the particulars. And then we have al-qiyas, what is mentioned as al-qiyas al-mantiqi. This is the syllogism, like what we mentioned in qiyas iqtirani, deductive logic. Al-istidlal ala al-juz'i bil kulli. So we argue, or we come forth with the evidences on a particular thing based on universal principle. So just like we say al-alam hadith, that the universe is contingent, and the evidence that the universe is contingent is that it is changing. The universe is changing, and everything that changes is contingent. So how do we know that this universe is contingent? By observing a part of the universe. So by saying that everything that change is contingent, and this universe is part of the things that change, so it is contingent. So we are giving a ruling to a particular thing based on the universal principle. So this is al-qiyas. This is the second category, that is al-qiyas. So it is the opposite of al-istiqra. Al-istiqra we deduce the universal principle from the particulars, but qiyas al-mantiqi it is the opposite. We deduce the ruling for the particular based on a universal principle. So it is the opposite of al-istiqra. This is qiyas al-mantiqi. The third thing is tamsil, and tamsil is qiyas usuli, what we study in usul al-fiqh. We speak about illa. For example, we say that liquor is haram because of iskar, because liquor it intoxicates others. So everything that intoxicates carries the same ruling. So this is juz'i ala juz'i, juz'iyun bi juz'i. So how do we know that for example a particular drink is haram? By looking at the illa of iskar. If it is intoxicating, then only it becomes the same ruling as al-khamr. So this is what is mentioned here, al-istidlal ala humratin nabidh. Nabidh is a type of drink that is fermented with dates. Bi hurmatil khamri li jami'in bainahuma. So why we say an-nabidh is haram? Because why? Because there is a common illa, or common cause or reason that is present in nabidh, that is the same as al-khamr, wa huwa al-iskar, that is the notion of intoxicating. Wa huma juz'iyan min mutlaqil muskir. So this both what you call it are from the result of al-iskar. So whenever we have iskar, it is haram. So this is based on what you call it, deducing the particular from thing that is considered to be particular in its ruling. So this is called at-tamthil. So these are the three things as what the author mentioned. Wa in bi juz'iyyin ala kulliyin ustudil fadhaka bil istiqra'i indahum uqil wa aksuhu yud'a al-qiyas al-mantiqi. This is the second thing, which is the opposite of istiqra', qiyas al-mantiqi, wa huwa alladhi qaddamtuhu fahaqqiqi, and it is what we have mentioned all this while, qiyas al-mantiqi, when it comes to qiyas what you call al-iqtirani and istisna'i. Wa haythu juz'iyyun ala juz'i humila li jami'in fadhaka tamsilun ju'il. So this is particular, and with particular, this is qiyas al-usuli, which is called at-tamthil. Wala yufidu al-qat'a bid-dalili qiyas al-istiqra' wa tamthil. And the author mentioned, as for qiyas al-istiqra' and tamthil, it doesn't bring to al-qata', conviction. But when comes to qiyas al-mantiqi, it brings to conviction. This is what he said, wala yufidu al-qat'a bid-dalili qiyas al-istiqra'i wa tamthili, and except qiyas al-mantiqi, it brings towards conviction. So inshallah in our next lesson, and we will go on to the next topic, that is aqsam al-hujjah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.